What's up, everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazabo coming at you with a new music review that is also kind of really sad in the current state of the metal and you know alternative music scene. Because just like my opening here, the one true Prince of Darkness himself, a big influence, ground zero for a lot of people in the metal and alternative world, has unfortunately passed away. My dearest condolences to his family and to everyone who he affected in a very positive way. This is becoming, kind of a weirdly expected thing because he just had his final performance with Black Sabbath a couple weeks ago as of this recording. And, you just didn't think he was going to die you know, as soon as he was that age and everything. It feels weirdly weird, but we're here to celebrate his life and we're here to talk about some good music, good times. And so I'm really happy to finally sit down and listen to this album in its full entirety because I never did. I know some of the singles, but never really sat down to listen to it. So that's why we're here. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. So today we're talking about Ozzy Osbourne's first debut solo album called Blizzard of Ozz. And the man himself, I'm sure, if you clicked on this, he doesn't need an intro, but always, Ozzy Osbourne is one of the biggest influences in metal and alternative music throughout, the past 50, 60 years with his band Black Sabbath. And then his solo career debut, Blizzard of Ozz, that came out in, I think, 1980 when he was out of the band for temporarily. And he met his wife, who he currently kind of knows or is married to. It's kind of weird to phrase everything. But Sharon Osbourne helped him get back on the saddle and get back into recording mode and kind of like get the man back on his get back on his horse and play some music and everything. Because I think in this time of his life, he was a little bit of a downturn, wasn't too sure where he wanted to be in music and life in general, with alcohol and drugs being a big prominent usage in his life. So this was a weird time for Ozzy, but also a very pivotal moment because it gave us some of the craziest great songs from this album and some just a newer, reinvented and revigorated Ozzy Osbourne at the time. And so I'm really happy to really do a deep dive on this because, like I said, I've never fully listened to this album. And with his passing and, just everything, it seems like a good time to celebrate his life than really do anything else negatively, but just really celebrate and see how things really started with this. As the entire world grieves the loss of the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, we find ourselves kind of looking back, not just at his music or himself, but his legacy, because he has one of those legacies that cannot be denied, and everyone just really knows just the big impact he had on the music industry. One of the brightest flames that he ever created in his long and chaotic music journey is his 1980 solo debut, Blizzard of Ozz. It simply wasn't a record that just proved that he could survive without Black Sabbath, but that, he could really thrive on his own. With the opening moments of the song, I Don't Know, I can feel overall, it feels like a reintroduction to who Ozzy was at the time to the world all over again, because, I think he got kicked out of Black Sabbath and then, trying to find himself again. So this was him just showing to the world like, hey, I'm back and let's see how this goes. At the start of this record, there's a bit of a hesitation in the atmosphere. And in this brief emptiness, a riff just cuts through like a nice blade. And I gotta say, it's not overly complex, but it's also not very unforgettable, this opening song and track. And I think a really good and strange way to describe this song and album is that it's very simple and epic at the same time, and it really helped redefine Ozzy's solo debut. Well, not redefine it, but redefine who Ozzy was, and also define how his solo outing was going to go. His voice here is a little bit on the process side, but it does give it a very massive feel to it, kind of like it floats over a very whimsical style of playing here, over the breakdowns and over the ripping solos. And it just feels like he's like singing from another world and just really commanding the space. And then after this song, you get like one of the most epic songs of all time, and that is Crazy Train. And with his passing and his legacy as it is now, this song just feels more mythological now. It seems so massive and just so crazy in a weird way, because but not just him, but also Randy Rhoads has passed away, and those two were really good friends, and they had a short career together. But the things they could have done if they were still a team throughout the years if Randy didn't die, and now that Ozzy's passed on, it just feels like this song has like transcended itself to a whole nother level. And what's crazy is that the opening screams here, once you hear it, the echoing of it is just like felt across millions of rock stations, stadium chants. It's just so iconic. It's like riding the edge of evil and also eccentric at the same time. It sounds like someone is on the verge of like sanity and about to lose it in 1 second, or they're about to pull themselves back and be able to be sane and everything. But that just evil laugh at the opening just sets up a very great song here. And then right after that, you get Randy Rhoads' guitar work here, which is nothing short of iconic, full of charisma and just fully in command here. It sounds like he's like commanding the clouds himself with each note. And by the time you finish the song, through like all the great parts of it, the bass, the drums, the vocals, the guitars, it's not just a song, it's a declaration. And with songs like Crazy Train on here, I was really surprised that, Blizzard of Ozz isn't all just fire and fury. It's not just, intense metal work here. Because on this debut, Ozzy is able to show a bit of a quieter side to him, like on songs Goodbye to Romance and D. I feel like these songs help like flesh out who Ozzy was, showing the dreamer side of him, the romantic side, and also, the man who bit a bat's head off, the legend himself. All these things are wrapped up in these quieter and more engaging, not engaging, but like he has quieter and more energetic songs on this record that, show all these like different sides of him. Goodbye to Romance in particular feels like a very heartfelt letter to the past, wrapped up in some really soft cymbal splashes and a very vintage, echoey guitar tone. I would say it's very introspective in a way that Ozzy rarely ever got credit for, or people didn't really, who were like surface level fans of him, didn't realize just how deep he could get. Then there's the song Suicide Solution, which is a song that's I think at the time it was a very controversial song, but it's very heavy with a lot of groove and menace. The bass lines on this song got a lot of swagger to it, and Ozzy's voice is sometimes raw, sometimes untouched, sometimes dripping in like sound effects and everything. Overall, it just cuts through really nicely, and you just can't help but notice. It's less about glamorizing dark and very suicidal things, but more about acknowledging it and coming to terms with it and trying to overcome it. Something that Ozzy was really, really good at, and I think a lot of people didn't really give him credit for, especially the critics. Then you have the songs Mr. Calorie and Revelation Mother Earth, is where Ozzy kind of, truly channels his very mystical and macabre side of songwriting. Because here you get some like organ playing, some choir singing in the background, some very gothic energy that it has, like also some sprawling solos that just feel very spiritual in nature. These songs don't really feel like traditional metal songs, just like the cover art, his ritualistic looking pose. These songs feel like a weird ritual in a cool way. And on these tracks, Ozzy seems to be singing with a lot of pain and power over very cathedral-like instrumentation, and it's just impossible not to feel the weight of all this music being played. Even tracks like No Bad Movies and Steal Away the Night, which are, I would say, probably often overlooked because I've never heard of these songs before, they have a very playful and raw charm to them. Whether it's like bluesy grit style playing here or fast-paced energy, you can tell that Ozzy wasn't trying to, remake Sabbath with this record. He was really trying to show who he was and who his influences were, and they show nicely. He was simply building his own storm that I think the world in general wasn't ready for, and then once he brought it, it just blew everyone's like minds away and everything. So I think looking back at this debut, Blizzard of Ozz, it's not just a strong debut. I would say it was like, I could easily say it's a foundation for a new type of metal that the world wasn't ready for or was ready for. He was bringing something new and fresh to the table at the time. And I definitely think, just like with Sabbath and his career, he was able to change the trajectory of metal, whether he was trying to or was not. He did it regardless. Simply, it gave us a little glimpse of what Ozzy could be if he was like unchained and like just given raw power of what he wanted to do. It's very theatrical, it's dark, surprisingly tender, and at the very end of the day, it was unmistakably him. It was Ozzy all the way. And I would say many have tried to follow in his footsteps or, try to get to where he was at. But, there was never really anyone quite similar in terms of like balancing out that madness and melody that Ozzy was able to bring. And now that Ozzy is gone, Blizzard of Ozz, it doesn't just feel like an album. It feels more than that. It feels like, weirdly, a farewell letter written decades too early. A howl into the void from a man who saw the edge, danced with it, and somehow turned it all into some beautiful art. So all in all, rest in power, Ozzy, the Prince of Darkness. The train goes off the rails, but the music keeps on riding. This debut from Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Ozz, I would have to give it a nice and good 8.5 out of 10. Tell me what your favorite song is from this album, your favorite Ozzy songs, some albums I should check out from Ozzy, and just any kind words you want to say to the man himself. R.I.P. to the one and only Ozzy Osbourne. See you in the pit. Peace.
Been thinking good things about you.